Welcome to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Pfefferkorn, and this is the biggest and only fan-run podcast of the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. We'll get right back to you after the tune. Welcome back to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. It's been about a month since I've recorded an episode. Roughly around the end of basketball season, where I did a recap with Ben Parrish, ETSU Buckeye on Twitter. It's been I've had some personal struggles, been going through a lot with work recently, and just personal life stuff. But I am happy to be back tonight. I have a good episode for you planned out. The first, I'm hoping to get some more interviews on here in the next little bit, but I do have a good episode planned out tonight. We're going to talk about ETSU spring football, just the whole spring season, what the depth chart looks like, starting QB battles, whole plethora of other stuff, news that's kind of come out, a couple faces. Some big faces coming back and some not, unfortunately. We're going to talk about ETSU basketball recruiting, just that whole process. We're going to get a little bit into some ETSU baseball, some golf, and a whole lot of other stuff. I hope this is a good episode tonight. I may not be the freshest. I'm going to try my best. This is just going to be a football spring recap episode, talking about my opinions on some of the stuff, talk about what I think of the team, whether I think we're going to do good or bad. Prediction, I think we're going to be just fine. But without further ado, I'm going to get into the episode here. We're going to start off with the spring football recap. A few weeks back, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I went to the spring football game, which capped off spring practice. Most teams capped off their spring practice over the past month before finals hit. ETSU is no different. My first impressions on the team, we are looking stout. The Trey Lamb era is here. With it comes a new offense, a new defense. We'll see how that applies to a regular season, but I think we are looking good, man. Of course, they had the blue and gold game presented by Marriott. Ballad Health, not Marriott, Ballad Health spring game. What am I talking about? The blue team, which comprised most of the first team starters, crushed the gold team, which is the backups, second string, third string, and so forth. They won 28-3. It was good, man. The offense looked outstanding, night and day compared to the George Quarles era teams. We have an actual offensive identity now. I'm sure any players that stayed around are happy they did, because the offense looked outstanding. QB play was much improved. Well, because we have an actual QB coach, an actual offensive coordinator that knows how to run the offense. But it's going to be an interesting battle going here in the fall camp. The first thing we're going to talk about the QB battle straight up. I'll tell you what, Jalen King and Cole Doyle both look excellent. That's going to be our battle going into fall camp. I'm assuming Jalen King is going to be the starter, just based on some tweets I saw. In my own eyes, he just has the wheels, man. He was just blown by our defenders. I don't know if that's a bad sign, but he's clearly the most athletic guy in the QB room. Those wheels, his passes were accurate too. Like, he was pretty accurate. Last year we were down to walk-ons in that QB room. This is a much different team, much different QB room. I think Jalen King was excellent. He had a total of, he was 10 for 14 for 86 yards through the air, and had six carries for 22 yards. It looked like he had more. I think he might have gotten, no, he didn't get hit because they blew the whistle before QBs get hit in spring games. But he put on a performance for what he could do. He had 22 yards on the ground. That his athleticism stood out. I think he's going to be the starter. He has SoCon speed, D1 speed, which we kind of struggled with in the past. I know I love Tyler Riddell. He was a decent runner, but not like an elite, super insanely fast or anything like that. Shout out Riddell. I think he's going to land with an FCS school. He had some offers from Southeast Missouri State, and I forget who else. Someone else offered him. I forget who at the moment. But he's one of our top passers ever. Shout out to him. Shout out to his family. If you ever want to be on the podcast, you're more welcome to come on. I'm accepting of all Bucks, past and present. Much improved QB room. After Riddell went down last year, we just didn't have the talent there, the depth. Paul May was okay. Dorsey, he entered the transfer portal. He didn't even play in this game. I thought he already had left after the fall semester. But now we got Cole Doyle, the St. Francis transfer. He looked pretty good. He had an impressive arm. He was the Northeast Conference Offensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. He had some excellent passes. He had some bombs down the field. So we could have a split QB room, because he outperformed Jalen King through the air. But I mean, it's just whoever can make the best plays. But going. Just based on a tweet I saw from him, I'm thinking King may have been named starter. Don't quote me on that quite yet. Just impressive debut for both QBs in front of most of the Buck fans that are seeing them for the first time, including myself. With work the way it is, I haven't been able to get to many practices, but I was able to get to that spring game on the Friday night that it occurred. He had he was 7 of 10 for 131 yards. Just leave your thoughts in the comments here on YouTube, or I may put up a poll. Who do you think is going to be the starter come fall time? Between the two, it's all love between you guys. Whoever wins, I love you both equally. I love all Bucks that come here. I say it on Twitter when someone leaves the program. We're all we're all family. We're all people, all humans, and I respect all these D1 athletes, man. because you're going to school. I've been there with you, and I respect your grind. But I guess we'll move on to the next part. My prediction. We'll leave the QB battle. We'll talk a little bit more about it in future episodes as we get closer to the first game of the season against App State. Who's going to be the starter? My official prediction, I think Jalen King's going to get it. Although Cole Doyle, it could be a split QB system depending on what Trey Lamb's looking for. Trey Lamb's offense was apparent. Obviously, our first team offense looked night and day, like I mentioned previous. We put up 412 yards of total offense, 217 through the air, 195 on the ground. Let's find some good big plays. King had the first drive of this game, went 75 yards and had an 8-yard strike to Jonathan Burns, who I believe transferred from Gardner-Webb. Yep. Lots of these Gardner-Webb transfers, they show up all over here. King, he had 3 completions to A.J. Johnson, who was originally going to go to LSU, I believe, and ended up at Gardner-Webb. I don't know the full story there. Blue, of course, offense looked good. I'm going to kind of go over all the plays here. We'll talk about our running backs next. Let's see. We talk about our running backs a little bit. I know we had our returning starter, Bryson Irby. He led the running backs with 9 carries for 79 yards. I think he might be the starter. He looked good last year. Trey Foster had 54 yards on 8 carries. So I think the running back tradition at ETSU will continue to be alive and well in the footsteps of Quay Holmes, Jacob Sailors, other ones, Jawan Stinson, Brandon Walker back in the day for you people that were in school in the 90s or grew up on Buck Sports in the 90s. Another standout was Devontae Houston. He had 40 yards on 5 carries. He was a transfer from UConn. He had quite a decent. Let me look up his stats at UConn. He was playing good. He got banged up during the game. I hope he's good for fall camp. Hopefully he didn't have his injury wasn't too bad. He totaled 2022. He had 578 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. 2021, he had over his 3 years at UConn, he had decent amount of receiving yards. Good rotation back at the FBS level, but he wanted to get more work here at the FCS level. So I hope he's a contributor this fall. So those are the 3 that played good. Trey Foster had a decent amount last year. No, he didn't. He barely played. He was more of a kick returner his freshman year, which was the 2021 season. Let's see Trey Foster. Trey Foster stats. Oh, he had quite a bit last year. His stats weren't updated on the website. He had 453 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, we'll have a good running back by committee there. Running back's usually one of the strongest positions on ETSU's teams. Since the Sanders era, we kind of struggled with it at the beginning. He didn't have as much depth. Jawan Stinson, of course, he played good, but outside of him, not a lot. Let's see. Who else got touchdowns or scores? We had wide receivers, Xavier I Xavier G. He's from Canada. Xavier Gallarditz. He played good. I know he had some big stats. He had 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. Him, Holden Cassell. Did he play last year? No, he didn't play. Let's see. 3 receptions for 51 yards. All kinds of different contributors. William Riddle, our walk-on, was 6 of 9 for 59 yards. He played a lot last year. Didn't have the greatest passing numbers, but he was a walk-on, so he could definitely be a contributor off that bench, be a coach on the field. I know we got another QB, good backup, Geno English. I think he's a Trey Lamb's coach's guy. He's just one of those guys that stay around 4 years, good team presence. He transferred. He's a fifth year guy from Gardner Webb. I was like, did he take his COVID year here? Let's see what else. I think that's all I can say on the offensive side. Oh yeah, Cameron Lewis, former QB for us. He got some action at tight end. He had some impressive plays. Let's see. Defensively, we also played really good. We held goal to only 102 yards, -9 rushing, 111 passing. We generated 2 turnovers. Cam Sims, who is a redshirt senior from Mercer, he looked impressive out there. He got a pick. Tyreek Nark forced a fumble. Teddy Wilson, another familiar name. I'm not sure about Tyreek Nark. He does not have a profile here on the website. He transferred. Oh, he played last year. He'll be a good contributor in the defense. Cam Sims back. Oh, he got forced a turnover. Picked off Geno English once. That's the same pick. Jimmy Bowdry picked off Doyle. That was kind of a overthrow by Doyle, but Jimmy Bowdry came from Gardner Webb. Lots of Gardner Webb guys coming up here. Kicker Ewan Johnson had a 25-yard field goal. Okay, yeah, going back to Doyle, he had that 60-yard pass to Justin Franklin, who also came from Gardner Webb. Last year he had 633 yards and 4 touchdowns. Just having all these contributors in the passing game. I think our wide receiver room improved even with the loss of our depth improved even with the loss of Will Huzzy, the all-time greats at ETSU. And let's see what else we got. That 60-yard pass, Doyle was throwing some bombs, man. 7 different receivers, going back to the holding the catch for Blue. Johnson led with 4 receptions and 33 yards. Franklin, 72. Cam Lewis, like I said, 56 yards. Hakeem Maggette, another Gardner Webb transfer. Good depth guy. Defensively, Blue totaled 24 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. Nick Hunter transferred from Gardner Webb. He took off. Tawan Royal, who was here. Wait, no, he transferred from Gardner Webb. For some reason, I remember his name. I think I'm getting mixed up. Linebacker led all players with 8 tackles. I think he was here he was here last year, I believe. Darn it. I think that's all about think that's about all I can cover as far as some big plays. Let's go to football, see if there's anything else on as far as news is concerned. Let's see. Oh, did I even cover what he added in February? I'm not sure if I covered people he added in the spring. I think I might have a while back. Yeah, Devontae Houston from UConn. I've enjoyed Trey Lamb's recruiting process thus far. He's flipped the team over in about only being 5 months on the job. 6 months? It's about 6 months now. Yeah, I can say I'm confident in the Trey Lamb era. We did have some bad news to come from spring football. At first, a lot of the transfer portal reopened. Of course, every team loses players. We lost a few guys that didn't contribute or probably weren't going to get playing time. Outside of one player in particular, I was excited. He announced he was coming back in the December transfer portal, was Sheldon Arnold. The second major loss. He was a first-team All-American. And it's just a tough loss. I know it's the transfer portal era. You're bound to lose your best players every year. It seems like unless you have the NIL, or they aren't. It's a big loss, regardless of who you ask. We lost. He was 6'1", 186 pounds. Last year he had a number of huge plays. 4 over his career at ETSU, had 7 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles, sacked, lots of tackles. He had a pick 6 last year. Just one of the top players in our secondary. I think we're deep in our secondary, though, so hopefully it isn't as major of a loss as I think. He transferred to Central Florida. Of course, he had several FBS offers, and he chose Central Florida. You can't compete against the Big 12 and their NIL. Central Florida is one of the biggest schools in the country, which is crazy. They used to be D3. I know they came back in the 80s. They came back to the Mini Dome. It just shows how far we're different trajectories we've taken as a program from them. There's a video on YouTube of them playing at the Mini Dome back in 86 or 87, sometime like that. But you could tell they were on a different trajectory. Being in Orlando, which has grown over the past 40 or so years. But best of luck to Sheldon Arnold. It's kind of a tough loss, just like not Will Huzzy, but Elijah Huzzy. Elijah Huzzy and Donovan Manuel, who I believe signed a deal. Didn't he sign a deal with someone? One of the guys in group chat I'm in was talking about him in the NFL draft. It'd be cool to have ETSU players in the NFL. Donovan Manuel, who did he sign with? He signed with the Minnesota Vikings. That's who he signed with. Hopefully he makes the roster. Have another ETSU adjacent player. It seems like the last few guys that have gone to the NFL that played at ETSU, they went to another school first. Hopefully we get that changed here. We had Gerald Sensabaugh, which wasn't his fault. We dropped football for the first, or back in 2003. He went to UNC. And Randy Sanders leaving. Elijah Huzzy went to, well, he's not in the NFL yet, but he went to UNC. Nate Adkins followed his dad to South Carolina. Now I believe he's still on the Broncos. I don't think they've cut him yet. Um, he actually got some action, which is cool. Just to have another player up there. Um, Jacob Sailors, if you didn't know, he is at in the US or UFL, and he is tearing it up. Let's see. I'm gonna go look at the stats for the UFL. UFL stats. Let's just look it up. Stats for rushing yards. Jacob Sailors, he is third in the league in rushing yards. Has two rushing touchdowns. He's been tearing it up for St. Louis, and I hope he gets an NFL shot from that. So I'll be rooting them on, St. Louis Battlehawks. I don't know if Nasir player's still around. I know Tyree Robinson got cut, but back to Sheldon Arnold. It's just a sad loss. Best of luck to you, bro. I will say Chris Hope is returning. One of our other defensive backs who is an integral piece. He didn't have nearly the stats that Sheldon Arnold did, but he's still a great lockdown corner. But he announced he's coming back, so hopefully our secondary can stop the passing attacks in the Southern Conference in North Dakota State. Our defense, it's going to take a lot to compete this year, but especially losing Billy Taylor too. I hope our defense is stout to match the offense that I saw. Defense did look good. I will say that. They did look good. But I think that's about all I have to say for football. I'm excited for this team. Go buy your tickets. Go buy your season tickets. I may go get some here later on in the summer. I have some other stuff I got to deal with first. But I think that's about all. I will be, just to make an announcement, I will be tailgating the North Dakota State game. If you want to come say hey, any listener of the podcast, I will. The tailgate's open for anybody. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. That's all I can say. Whenever you get a new coach, you never know what to expect. So, and I hope I get Trey Lamb on this podcast so we can talk about it even more, because I do love some football, man. Football and basketball, that's what most of us were raised on. Those are two biggest dollar sports. Let's go into men's basketball. It's been a crazy few weeks for men's basketball. Well, it's been the off season, so there's not been too many changes. I believe I talked about who entered the transfer portal last time. We had 3 guys. I'm gonna pull up verbal commits right now. Let's see. Let's go pull up ETSU on here. No, let's go look up transfers. Find ETSU. Of course, we had Tyler Rice. Most of these guys all our guys that have entered the transfer portal, I believe they've all found spots. I don't know if Justice Smith has yet. Tyler Rice went to Hampton. He's probably going to get more playing time there. He was kind of our backup point. He was a decent contributor. Didn't really have the shooting that we thought he would have, like his brother. He was a good player. Shout out to him and his family. Best of luck at Hampton. The Justice Smith, of course, transferred. I believe he's going D2. I'm not for certain, no. Hopefully he finds a good place where he can be the star, man. But Braden Illick, a local boy from Morristown East, he transferred down to Carson Newman, the local school. get some playing time. That's a good place for Illick. Always respected his family. He's a good contributor. Had the memorable moment first round of the SoCon tournament against VMI where their team tried to fight him, but that was funny. Funny as crap, man. Let's see. So, yeah, those are the only three that transferred. We're lucky for a mid-major. That's not major losses. None of those guys were significant contributors. We did have 2 losses to graduation. Of course, Abby, the 5th-year guy, that was our biggest loss. He was our bleeding scorer, I believe. Let me double check. Stats, or not ESPN stats, ETSU stats. Let's see. Yeah, she was our leading scorer. I had to remind myself it's been a month. I've kind of been zoned out from college basketball since my other team lost in the championship. That was a great run. I kind of got carried away. That's part of the reason I haven't been on or was on or making podcasts. Sorry for the gaff there, but we lost him, of course. Jaden Parker, our all-time season single season block leader, left. He had his 4 years in and decided he wanted to go turn pro. He's probably going to go play overseas somewhere, sign a contract, get his family some money. I respect it. But we lost him too, so that's a big loss in the front court. His length defensively, and he was a good, decent offensive player too for being a big dude at the mid-major level. But that defense, we've got to replace that. He went pro, so 5 players. Currently, we have 3 other scholarships filled. We have Kurt Lewis from. Let's look up Kurt Lewis. He transferred from Missouri. He did not play much this year. He was the JUCO Player of the Year last year, or the previous year, coming into his tenure at Missouri. He played at John A. Logan alongside Kumari Peterson. So Kurt Lewis committed. Follow him. We have a lot of connections to John A. Logan. Several players have played there in the past for us. So I think he'll be a good addition. I think he is our replacement for Tyler Rice minutes-wise. He's 6'5", 215 from Louisville, Kentucky. He previously played at Eastern Kentucky for 2 years, averaged 11.1 points his freshman year. Decent shooter, decent 5 rebounds as a guard. That's good. Hopefully he has get in the weight room, get connected with the team. 9.7 his second year, and he'll be a good pickup. Good 5th-year guy to provide some stability at guard, especially where we've got a lot of young guys coming in. Still, like Gabe Sisk and Makai Johnson. Our second pickup was Roosevelt Wheeler. Let's look up his stats. Roosevelt Wheeler. He transferred in from VCU. I haven't had a chance to look at film yet, but he didn't play much at VCU last year. He transferred from Louisville. He was a part of the disastrous Kenny Payne era there, so maybe he wasn't being coached up quite as well, or being invested in quite as well as he should have been. He didn't play much there. People have said his film looks good, just couldn't find a place at Louisville or VCU. I hope that's the case, but he committed last Saturday. Good pickup, good bench, big, to replace Braden Illick. He's 6'11", 245 pounds, so that's some decent size at the mid-major level. You can play the 4 or the 5. Probably play the 5 if I had to guess. Maybe the 4. We'll see. Yeah, probably the 5. But I will review film with him, or review film of him. And yeah, that is about all I have on him. Our last commitment, let's see. Let's see our other commitment. He just ETSU commit. It was sorry, I'm blanking. It just happened yesterday. Basketball time elite. Our next commit. Let's see. Our last commit, or our most recent commitment, was from Brandon Crawford, a freshman, rare freshman in this day and age. He played for Overtime Elite in Atlanta. He is listed at, I believe he is listed at 6'9", 215 pounds. He was listed as a 3-star recruit on On3, 247, Rivals. I believe he was the he's currently listed as the 165th player in the 247 sports composite. I think he's one of those overlooked players now that we have the transfer portal. One of those guys that Power 5 programs used to bring in that are raw, but they end up being big contributors their 3rd and 4th years on the school. But good pickup, good athleticism. He had offers from Wichita State, Penn State, Gardner-Webb. I believe he had some other interest. I think he had South Carolina State after him as well, according to On3. But playing for a big AAU team like Overtime Elite, that's a big pickup for our front court depth, especially losing Jaden Parker and Illick. So that's two front court players. But great pickup. I can't praise Brooks Savage. I think Brooks Savage is doing a good job filling his holes, especially being a mid-major. We aren't necessarily getting the top scoring players. I know there's been a couple guys that have had interest in ETSU, but they committed elsewhere. The Gardner-Webb guy that was at Texas Tech, Damarian Williams, he went to High Point. Another guy went to UNC Wilmington, I think, and one to Milwaukee. I think that was the case. A couple other guys I mentioned previously that looked like they had interest. But pretty good pickup so far. We have 2 more open scholarships before the year. I'd recommend another big dude, someone that can score, maybe even someone that has a touch from the perimeter, like Chattanooga. Beat them with their own medicine. Maybe go after some weight guys that are in the portal that Savage has connections with. Get another scoring guard, man. And if the rumors are correct, we may have one on the way. Um, we just don't know. You never know with the transfer portal who's going to come. So, yeah, I think that's about correct. If we can fill those two holes, scoring guard to replace Ebby, that can shoot a high clip, especially with Mekhi Johnson and Gabe Sisk continuing to come along, and Kurt Lewis in that backcourt. I think we can build a SoCon contender, especially with the other teams' losses. Chattanooga, Sanford lost a Chor, and some other guys to the portal. Chattanooga lost guys. Their big dude, Sam Alexis, lost a whole lot. But yeah, Furman lost most of their scoring depth. Alex William, JP Pegues, and not Slauson, but I forget his name. Transferred to Xavier. Pegues went to Auburn. I think Wofford brings back a lot of people. It may be us and Wofford in chat. Chat still has a decent team. But yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming season. Savage continues to build. I have had him on this podcast before. I said hey to him a couple times. SoCon Championship, ETSU baseball games. What do you know? Hopefully, also continue to contribute to Bucks for Good. Get some of these guys in with NIL. Pay our student athletes. Sweeten the pot a little bit. That's how the environment is now. Go donate. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, that's all I had for men's basketball. We'll talk a little bit about women's basketball real quick. I know, let's see, ETSU women's. I don't know. I haven't followed as much closely. We got a couple commits in the portal and lost some players in the portal. I know we added assistant coach Honey Brown, added a couple signings, Braylon Milton and Isabella Hunt. Milton came from University of Cincinnati, and Hunt transferred in from Mount St. Mary's. I know we lost a lot of scoring. I think Nedova Brown left in a surprise move. And Neva Brown, she shocked the coaches, and she led us in scoring last year. I think we believe we lost most of our leading scorers. Nineveh Brown, Courtney Moore. I think Kendall Foley came back. I don't know. Let's see. No, did she go anywhere? Not sure, but lots of changes there. The women's basketball, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there was some drama about Nineveh Brown leaving. That's all I'll say there. But hopefully the women's team can compete. They had some injuries last year. I know Mock Brown is a good coach. So women's team should be back to ETSU standards. I think that's we have one more. I have one more discussion. This is going to be kind of a short episode tonight since it's just me flying solo. And it's getting dark. I just got my light right here. Hopefully you all watch the full thing. It's kind of going from the day to night progression. I'm going to talk a little bit about ETSU baseball. I went to my first ever ETSU baseball game. I'm not a huge baseball guy. I will be the first to admit, but our team has been good this year. I know we've had our ups and downs, but we are 31-15. Finished the year 31-15. Wait, never mind. Not finished the year. We still have 2 series left to play against Wofford and Miami of Ohio. But we've had some good wins this year. We didn't compete against South Carolina and Virginia Tech. Tennessee, of course, we got smoked. But, they're the number one team, I believe, right now. But they beat my other team, the Boilermakers of Purdue. I don't follow Purdue baseball too closely, of course, but we've had some fun. It's fun that we beat a Power 5 team in a series. They actually led the Big Ten Conference. I did go to all 3 games against the Citadel. We smoked them, of course. I got revenge against Tony School, our old coach, old baseball coach, who's now at the Citadel. He's a Citadel grad. But I think that we beat UNC Asheville and swept VMI. We have 31 wins. I think we had 30 wins at home. No, I don't think that's correct. We have 31. We are 31 and 15. If we can close out the year strong and win SoCon tournament, that would be impressive year. Because this is a good team, good baseball team. They hit a lot of home runs, a lot of offense. And also, forgot to mention, I got this sweet jersey right here. A lot of people have asked me where I got it at. Sorry if you couldn't hear me, but yeah, so I just had to go and I saw this. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. ETSU golf. Let's talk about golf for a minute. Let's see, golf. I know tennis played against the Vols. Men's tennis played against the Vols in the NCAA tournament and lost. Good year for them. Won the SoCon. Men's golf, we had 3. We were going to the NCAAs, just announced about a week ago. Yeah, we won the Southern Conference Championship. So congrats to Jake Amos's team on the great year. Let's see. Yeah, got the NCAA tournament. Lots of stuff. I'm kind of short for time here. I'm gonna get close to ending this episode. I'm glad I just got to sit down and recap some football with y'all. In the transfer portal news and men's and women's basketball, and cover some of the minor sports, baseball, etc. But yeah, root on your Bucks. Glad to have this jersey right here. As I enter the closing stages of tonight's episode, please go contribute to Bucks for Good. Go subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe below if you're on YouTube. Follow if you're on Spotify. Go follow on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, I'm not as active. I hope to get this podcast up on iTunes here soon. But I think that's all I had for tonight. So just wanted to say you all have a good night. Godspeed and go Bucks. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.